What's up, Who Dat Nation? Let's talk some Saints football. Earlier this week, the Saints made news when, after the NFL draft, they went and signed former Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Jameis Winston to a one-year, $1.1 million deal. As a fan of the team and being in multiple different, fan groups on social media, I gotta say, I have never seen this amount of negativity towards any signing of one player in my entire life. Everybody hates this deal, and for the life of me, I can't understand why. I think personally that this is a great signing by the team. Well done to Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton for actually going out there and getting this thing done. But that's just my opinion, and let's talk about it. So, diving into Jameis Winston, former Heisman Trophy winner, former national championship winner at Florida State, number 1 overall draft pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will say his tenure in Tampa Bay has been up and down, and the only thing that he has had consistently going for him is the receiving core. Specifically, when you take the number 1 and number 2 guys with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and compare it to the rest of the league, I think they have one of the better top 2 options to throw the ball to. The offensive line, it's terrible. The running game has been below average, and the defense as well has been fairly below average. The coaching up until last season, where they got Bruce Arians to come out of retirement, has been meh. Nothing really sticks out. So, when you're drafted number 1 overall, you're going to a bad team. That's just how it is. That's how it works. It sucks for that guy, but that's how it is. And Winston has been plagued by turnovers. It's been a constant theme for him throughout his time in the NFL, and even going back to college, he commits a lot of mistakes. Specifically last season, where he threw for 30 interceptions on the year. And that's obviously not good. When you take that number, you put it in a vacuum and you look at it, 30 interceptions, it's not good. Especially when 6 of those are returned for touchdowns. That's a lot of points going to the other team, putting your defense in a hole, and all in all, just makes a terrible situation to be in. He also threw for 33 touchdowns and over 5,000 yards, which is absolutely nothing to scoff at. The dude has talent. And personally, I think he can be a star player. He's just got to get those interceptions down. And remember when I said when you take that number and you put it in a vacuum, it looks bad. Go back. I challenge you. I really do. Go back and watch all of his interceptions from last year. Because I did. And there are a few themes that I saw. Let's start with a quote from one of his receivers, Chris Godwin. Godwin, a couple of weeks ago, said that he doesn't understand why Winston, didn't have a job at that time. He thought that he also said that Winston took a lot more of the blame than he really needed to. And when I went back and actually looked at some of the interceptions, I can see the point that Godwin was making. I would say over about half of them, it was tip balls that should have been caught. It was receivers and the quarterback, not being on the same page. And I think a lot of that was on the receiver end than on Winston's end. And lastly, there was a lot of plays that receivers just straight up gave up on the route. And it just becomes an easy interception at that point. And yes, you cut him in half. The other half, it honestly looked like Winston. I have no idea what he's doing, which is not good. But I can see Godwin's point. I really do think that Winston honestly became an easy scapegoat for a team that was struggling, that eventually led them to kicking him out the door and saying, "Come on down, Tom Brady. Let's try to win." So that brings into our next point of conversation, which is the fact that Winston had LASIK eye surgery during the offseason. Apparently, according to Winston, the results of the surgery has now let him be able to, and I quote, read street signs. Like, that's bad. And I do think that, honestly, that on some of these interceptions, that this was a problem. And, it remains to be seen if this is a possible solution to that problem. But it's a step in the right direction. And I think it has the possibility to, correct some of these errors. So enough about Winston. Let's actually talk about why I think this is a deal that makes a lot of sense for this team. The Saints are coming to a point where there's about to be a lot of unknowns. Pretty sure that Drew Brees is going to walk away at the end of the year. And, that's a really big deal for this team. Brees has been pretty much the savior of this team since 2006 when he first came on. Led them to their first Super Bowl victory, led them to multiple playoff runs, and all in all has put this team in a lot of successful situations that they didn't have before. And once he's gone, there is not a set option for a guy to just come in and take over. Yes, there's Taysom Hill on the roster. The problem with Taysom Hill for me is that I don't think that he's a starting quarterback in this league. I do not think that he's a guy that you can sit and give him the ability to throw a ball 30 to 40 times a game. Just based on the very little amount that anybody has seen him throw since he's been in the league. Don't get me wrong. Taysom Hill is a phenomenal player. I love the fact that he's on this team. And more importantly, I just love the fact that he loves to play football. It doesn't matter what position he's playing. He's always out there. He's got a smile on his face. And he's going to do what the team wants him to do. Just for me personally, I don't see him being the starting quarterback of this franchise. And he's the only option that they had up until this point, with Teddy Bridgewater getting the deal from the Carolina Panthers. Bringing in a guy who threw for over 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns last year on a one-year deal worth chump change, that's a steal. I don't care about the interception numbers. I don't think Winston cares about the interception numbers. I don't think Winston expects to play this year. Winston is coming into this team after watching what they were able to do with Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to sit. He's going to learn from Drew Brees, who has done it just about as good as anybody has ever done it. And he's going to allow himself to be humbled and, work on his game, get to the point where he's reading defenses better, and who better to learn from than Drew Brees? He's got to learn how to, take what a defense gives him. A lot of his throws have been panicked. It's been rushed. And a lot of that's due to the fact that he's been playing behind for a lot of the time. it's okay to, take 3 yards here, take 5 yards there, take 7 yards here, dump it off to the running back sometimes. Whereas I think, at least from what I've seen, a lot of his throws have been like, I got to make the big play right here, right now. And I think that this is honestly the best situation for him to ever be in. And it's going to do wonders for his career. And honestly, if Breeze, in fact, actually does walk away after this year, I'm pretty sure he said that he was going to, it puts Winston in a position to become the Saints starting quarterback from now on. And if you can take the 30 interceptions and cut that in, let's say, 50%, and keep the same yards and touchdowns that he's thrown, watch out.